all three streams going at the same time. Jim Coventry from RotoWire here, getting ready for our start sit week 4 show. Now, tomorrow we have the early game, Minnesota and New Orleans, 9:30 Eastern kickoff. Normally I would be on at that time, but clearly I'm not going to compete with the NFL because you lose that battle every single time. So I'm going to take your start sit questions here today as they roll in while we're waiting for some questions to come in, since people don't know we're going to be doing this. I'll go over some trends for this week's games, some prop bets that I like this week. I love Jonathan Taylor over 95.5 yards against Tennessee. Taylor has not been going well the last 2 weeks, but the advantage here is this year, Tennessee, who he didn't do that well against last year. He didn't reach those numbers in either game, but Tennessee this year is more of a middling run defense, and more importantly, they're without inside linebacker Zach Cunningham and strong safety Amani Hooker. They are both part of the run defense package, and I think that gives the opportunity for Jonathan Taylor to finally get the big game he hasn't had since week 1. So that's a great prop bet. Christian Kirk over 62.5 yards. We know the outside cornerbacks for Philadelphia can be quite devastating. And the big deal in the middle is that Avonte Maddox, who's been a very good slot corner for them, is out. Now, I know they do have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but he is playing as a safety more. I don't know that they change his role for this game, and I do expect that Christian Kirk over 62.5 yards of DraftKings is a very good bet. And then finally, Christian McCaffrey over 62.5 rushing yards against the Cardinals. The Cardinals are not only one of the worst run defenses in the league, they're without their nose tackle, Rashard Lawrence, who is a very good run defender, one of their only good ones at that point. All right, we'll take some starts. I see one start sit question, so we'll get this one. Power Lift USA, Chris Olave or Drake London. So when I look at that game, first of all, Andy Dalton is going to be playing quarterback, and Minnesota's had a very good pressure rate. And the left guard, Andres Pete, who's not a phenomenal blocker this year for the Saints, but he's out, so that line takes another hit. So I think that Andy Dalton's going to be under a lot of pressure in the deep ball. He's going to be skittish. I don't know that he throws the ball deep a lot, whereas Drake London's in a really good matchup here because Cleveland's pass defense just has not been what it should be, and the play-action game should run very well, and they're really striking downfield. London's a big-bodied receiver, and he should be in great shape here. So I think I go Drake London 60 to 40% over that one because of the matchups. And Coach Amador, you have trade for Lawrence or Rodgers rest of season. You know, the Packers are going to be a lower volume passing attack because they don't have a number of dynamic receivers. And so what I think they're going to do is they're going to use the run a lot. Whereas Jacksonville, we know their defense has come out and played well. They've had a pretty easy schedule. I think that defense is good, but I think there are going to be more games they're going to have to score points. And I think they're going to be likely to lean on Trevor Lawrence more than the Packers will lean on Aaron Rodgers. So I think he'll have a higher floor with similar ceiling for Lawrence. That's the player I would target. All right, B. Ali. Stevenson or Samuel. So Stevenson has a great matchup. I mean, remember, the Bears ran the ball down the Packers' throats, and the Bears don't have a passing game, and yet David Montgomery went 15 for $122. Well, Stevenson last week, he had 9 for 40, like 47 2 weeks ago. Last week, he was really strong in the running game. They're going to have to lean on the running game. They're not going to let Brian Hoyer throw it. And if they fall behind, Stevens is a receiving threat. But Samuel is tough to fade too because he gets double-digit touches every week. But I do think that in this matchup, Stevenson does have a great matchup, but Samuel's safer. Samuel is safer because we know we're getting double-digit touches. With Belichick in the running game, we don't know exactly what he's doing. So Samuel is safer. Stevenson, I think, this week has a higher upside. Got a couple Instagram questions. Breece Hall or Jeff Wilson. Wilson's getting a lot of the work. I don't like that left tackle Trent Williams is out. He's a big part of their run blocking. The Rams are excellent against the run. Breece Hall is getting some work in the receiving game, which is good. And as much as I love Jeff Wilson, I think Williams' injury is going to hurt them. I'm going to say Breece Hall 55 to 45% because of the injury situation. All right, and then we got Henry, and you have traded Adams and Najee for Swift and Fournette. Did you make a mistake? I'll say no, you didn't, because Swift and Fournette are going to get elite usage. I know Swift will be back in a couple of weeks, so we should be okay with that. Najee's not playing well. Adams right now, I blame his coach. His coach isn't getting him the ball. I don't care. He's bracketed in Green Bay. But right now, I think you did fine on that trade. We have another Insta question. Jeff Wilson, Jamal Williams, or Kamara. So Jamal Williams is going to be in here because with Swift out, he's going to still split some work with Craig Reynolds, but he'll take the lead in that. And I think with Amon-Ra St. Brown out, between Williams and Hockenson, they're going to split up some of those targets because those are in that short area of the field where Jared Goff likes to throw. So I think we're going to go with him. And then Kamara's matchup is not actually that bad. And I think Andy Dalton's going to have to dump the ball off a lot this week. And I think Kamara's going to be the prime point. Michael Thomas is out. So I'm going to sit Wilson in the bad matchup and no left tackle Trent Williams. All right. Herberger, there you go. Stevenson or Gibson? I'm going to say Stevenson pretty easily here. Gibson is down a run blocker. Their center, Wes Schweitzer, he's down. He's terrible pass blocking. He's a decent run blocker, and their run blocking has not been very good, so it's a big hit to them. Whereas Stevenson and Gibson are both going to have inconsistent workloads, but I think Stevenson is in a game where Green Bay's so bad against the run that I think that's where we're going to sit with Stevenson. We're going to say 60 to 40% there. And all right, let's see here. We got you're an Eddie. Injuries to New Orleans, switch to Vikings D or stick with Denver. Yeah, that's a tough call there because Denver's getting pass rush and the Vegas line is terrible. Will they get the ball out quickly enough? Maybe. Don't know they're going to run the ball. And ultimately, the Vikings have a good pass rush, and they do have Andy Dalton there. I think it's more likely that the Vikings get like that. Not that anybody's going to predict a pick six. I'm not predicting that, but it's more likely the Vikings get that than Denver gets that. I think both are in a good spot. So I think the Vikings have a little more upside than Denver in this game. But I think they're both very good plays for fantasy. And we always know when we say a good fantasy defense play, they get a 0. We know how that goes. And that's how it works in fantasy football with defenses. But I would say the Vikings have more upside because I think Andy Dalton could crumble under the pressure. And again, with left guard Andres Pete out, that hurts them as well. Jay, you got Jeff Wilson, Dillon, Miles Sanders, or Madison. Cook is off the injury report, completely off the injury report. Apparently, his shoulder, it always pops out of the socket. It's something that he's never had surgically corrected. So put a harness on him. Cook resumes his normal workload off the injury report. So Madison will get 25, 30% of the touches, and that'll be about it. So we're not really considering much against a tough Green Bay run defense and New Orleans run defense. Miles Sanders is tough to sit right now. He has a floor, right? He definitely has a floor, and we like that. And Miles Sanders' matchup against Jacksonville, not scary. They have a good pass rush, but I think the run defense, you can nick them, especially that offensive line. But you know what? I love A.J. Dillon here this week because the New England, they're not good against run anymore. They're very much attackable there. And I think that Green Bay is going to enjoy using that and kind of controlling the game. And they like to run anyway. So I think so Dillon's for sure. And then Wilson just has that bad matchup against the Rams and no Trent Williams at left tackle. That makes it a little worse. So I'm going to go Dillon's and Miles Sanders there. And let's see, I have an instant question here, a couple of them here. Njoku or Gerald Everett. So Gerald Everett has caught less than half of his passes, or it's either one more or one less than half, about half his passes he's catching. And right now I'm concerned about their passing attack because I think this week against Houston, they can run the ball all day. And I think they can get Herbert a little healthier. So I'm going to go with Njoku coming off the big game, thinking he can match it up against Atlanta, who does nothing intimidating there. I'll go one more instant question. I'll come back to YouTube and Twitter. Full PPR flex, James Robinson, Curtis Samuel, or slumping Kamara. Curtis Samuel's your safest play because he has that great volume, but James Robinson, he's getting a ton of work too. And, you know, Los Angeles Chargers were a sieve against the run, but they're better. They're middle of the pack this year. I think ultimately it's a lower volume game because I think LA can run the ball too. So I think we're going to say that Samuel has the best combo of floor and upside, but James Robinson is just such a part of that game plan that they have every week. Kamara's tough to hit right now. I think he can get some screens from Andy Dalton, but I'm going to say, I'm not going to say James Robinson 52%, Curtis Samuel 48%. It's that close. If you have a gut feel on those who go it, but I do think we sit Kamara over them. Bialy, you've got half PPR, Hunt or Akers. So Akers looked decent last week in the second half. He had about 62 yards, and he got the touchdown. He's got a tough run defense he's facing. It's a nasty, nasty front seven for the 49ers. And I like Akers. I'm an Akers guy, but I think that this week he's going to, he's going to see some work, but I think it's going to be more of that 3-yard carry thing, and the touchdown will be real fickle. So I think Hunt has a little better ceiling. I think they have similar floors. So the little bit better of a ceiling that Hunt has, I'm going to say Hunt 55 to 45% over Akers. And when they're that close, it's always, if you got a gut feel, you got to go when they're that close, but it's a good question. Bialy again, Devonte Smith or Curtis Samuel. So this is is going to be the answer probably for most of the season. Samuel's going to get you double-digit touches between targets and carries every week. He's going to have a really nice scoring floor for you. Devonte Smith's had 2 big games in a row, but we still can't forget that 0-yard and 4-target performance. Those can get mixed in. So Devonte Smith has real ceiling, but depending on how they utilize their passing, there are weeks when it's going to be about Goddard and A.J. Brown. And when I look at the matchup this week against Jacksonville, I do think the passing attack is where they have that advantage. So Smith does have big upside, but if they just get really infatuated with A.J. Brown, so if you want that safe 10 PPR points, you go with Curtis Samuel, or half PPR, 8 to 9 PPR points, half PPR, you go with Samuel. But I think if you're looking to risk, a 5 for maybe a 15 or an 18, then I think you go with Devonte Smith. All right, let's see. Other than Packers, any Survivor insights? I know Survivor is so tough. We got to pick one team a week, and we struggle with that. Oh, my gosh. Let me look at the slate here real quick. And, the Chargers are on the road. I hate taking road teams, but I think Houston is a team that's very, very attackable. So I think that's one you could look at for sure. And wow, it's always tough to find one team to say they're the one. That would be the only other one I'm looking at and saying, yep, that one is good. But you're right. Otherwise, you got the Packers are your thought there. All right, I got an Insta question. Chark, Gage, Godwin, or Claypool. We don't know if Godwin's playing yet, so I don't want to answer this one for him this early. We'll say, because it's a night game, if we don't know till then, well, you got Gage. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I would just go Godwin, Gage. If Godwin's active, you start Godwin. If he's not, you start Gage, because the slot's going to be there for Gage. Claypool is just so low volume in the passing. He's getting some targets, but they're not turning in anything. Chark has an ankle injury or something. He's limited. He's questionable. And that makes me scared off of him, because that's where the concern is. And if he was 100% healthy for this game, I would be on that, because Seattle doesn't get a pass rush. Seattle can't cover. But the less than 100% makes me nervous. Chark is your upside play. If you find out tomorrow morning that he's 100% healthy and he's like off the injury report, not to worry, Chark has the upside, but Godwin and Gage would have the floor for you. All right. Delroy. And I got one more there. Flex spot. Damien Pierce, Zeke Elliott, or Michael Carter. This is not a bad week to play Zeke Elliott. Dallas will be able to run the ball on Washington, and they will go in with that mindset and approach. I don't necessarily like Damien Pierce's matchup here. You would think, based on last year, you would say, oh, he's got a great spot against the Chargers. Chargers are much, much better against the run. Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson in the middle have done a really nice job. And then Khalil Mack's a great run defender. So I think that's more the floor game for Pierce. Michael Carter is always the wild card, because he finally got out snapped by Breece Hall last week. Now, the touches weren't necessarily reflective of that. So I think right now we're going to say Zeke's your floor guy. He'll get you a safe, solid floor. If you need boost, Carter has floor or lower floor, but I think he does potentially have some upside, because he could have a little more juice in the pass game. I would probably say Zeke, though, regardless. I'd say Zeke 60% to 40% for Carter, and I would leave Pierce out. As one more instant question here. Full PPR, Zay Jones, Josh Reynolds, or Thielen. You know what? I know that the Philly corners are very good, but I'm going to say that they're going to have to throw a lot in the second half. I'm going to go with Zay Jones there. Adam Thielen doesn't have a terrible matchup, but the usage has been very problematic. And then Josh. So the problem for Josh Reynolds this week. So Detroit, I think they're going to look at Hockenson a lot in the middle of the field. They're going to look at Jamal Williams in the screen game a bit. And Seattle doesn't get pressure, which that certainly helps. That's a tough one. But I think Zay Jones is your floor guy. And I think your boom bust is Josh Reynolds. But I don't know how much the boom is. I don't think there's enough boom. So I'm just going to say Zay Jones. I'm going to follow the volume. All right, let me see what I got here. And then we come back here. I've got Johnny, you got Juju, Zeke, McKenzie, or Kirk. You need two. Vontae Maddox, a slot corner, is out for Philly. So I do like Christian Kirk this week. I have him as a prop bet play. And then Ezekiel Elliott's just showing a great scoring floor, but he doesn't have a whole lot of ceiling. But Juju hasn't shown ceiling either. So I'm going to say Kirk, and I'm going to give Zeke the slight edge over Juju. But if you got a gut feel on Juju, that's great. This is a week where, so McKenzie's going to be like, he's a minor part of the offense. There are weeks when they're going to get him the ball, but you never know when those are going to be. Now, this game profiles to be one where he could get the ball. McKenzie may have real upside this week, but we don't know that the coaching staff's going to say you're the guy, and that's what you're going to have to count on. Since you have other good options, I just think you save McKenzie for when his bye weeks and injuries, because you're going to get the 2-point game in the week you think that you put him in the lineup, and that's going to be the problem with Isaiah McKenzie. His snap share is low. His target share is very, very inconsistent, but more on the low side. All right, let's see what we got here. We got another instant question. We got Robinson or Garrett Wilson. You know what? Zach Wilson is coming into quarterback. We're not sure if he's going to have chemistry with Garrett Wilson or he's going to go back to Elijah Moore, who we played with a bit last year. With that uncertainty, I think we just go with James Robinson for the safety. We want to give Garrett Wilson 1 week with the new quarterback, Zach Wilson, to see how that pans out. So I think you're just safer because I think you have similar floor ceiling combos there. So I think we go that route. All right, Iron Eddie, you got Elijah Moore, Ramondre, or Dotson. I think it's Ramondre here. Ramondre has a great matchup because Green Bay is just horrid against the run. And I think that the Bill Belichick is going to have to come in. They're not going to be able to throw at Brian Hoyer, so they're going to have to run. And if they fall behind, Ramondre can be the receiving back. So I think he's your floor and upside play. Jahan Dotson has a similar floor, but I don't know that he has the ceiling Ramondre has. And although I love Elijah Moore as a player, again, and Zach Wilson is back, that could mean good things, but I think your options are good enough that you have to just give that a little time, and hopefully more breaks out soon, but we haven't just seen that yet. Let's see here. How to download RotoWire app. So you may have to send an email to support@rotowire.com. And if you guys are on, anybody who's on YouTube, if you could smash that subscribe and like button, I'd appreciate that for RotoWire. Love to have you guys here. And if you guys like our content, of course, you can always get a 2-day free look behind the paywall. Go to rotowire.com/try. You don't even need a credit card. It's just going to be an email address. So it's pretty awesome. All right, let's see. We got another question on Insta. Would I trade Ayuk for Hall? Depends. If you need a running back. If you need a running back, yes. If running backs are hard to come by, so you definitely could do that. All right. All right, Chef. You just traded A.J. Brown and Damien Pierce for Jamar Chase and Breece Hall. Why not, right? Jamar Chase, though, you got that trick play downfield, but I don't like the yardage so far, and I don't like the offensive line, and I thought they were throwing the ball more underneath against the zones, and they're kind of stubborn there. But you know what? How do you go wrong, right? You got two superstars, then you got two guys. It's a very even trade. So personal preference. If you were happy with the trade, it was a good trade because both sides of the trade are fine. All right, let's see what else we got here. And then again, that RotoWire app question keeps coming in. Go to support@rotowire.com. They will definitely answer your question. All right. Conklin or Logan Thomas. And so Conklin hasn't seen less than 7 targets. Now Zach Wilson's, but I think he still throws to the middle of the field. And Conklin's running a target on like over 80% of his snaps. He's running routes. So that's huge. Logan Thomas is in that mix with, Mclaurin, Samuel, Dotson. Whereas Conklin, and I know they have other receivers, but the middle of the field is where they kind of got to go. So I'm going to say Conklin in, tight ends, how that goes. But I think right now Conklin's shown enough of a floor that I think he continues that with Zach Wilson. And one other question on Insta, James Conner or Jamal Williams? It's a good question. James Conner has not been good this year. Jamal Williams has been very good. He's going to still split some work with Craig Reynolds. Don't think it's going to be Williams 90% of the time. He'll still get a 65 to 70% snap share, but which is better than what he gets with Swift. So I think, you know what, though? Honestly, the way they're playing right now, I think Jamal Williams has a similar floor, and I don't know that he has a lower ceiling than Conner. So I would say 53% to 47% Jamal Williams. If you got a gut feel, go with that. Johnny wants to know Patriots plus 9.5. They're going to try. The key to that happening would be they want to run the ball. If they can control the clock and shorten the game, they could keep it low scoring enough that they're going to cover. And they could score well with just a rushing attack. So I think there's a very reasonable choice. Now, if the Packers get out to a lead, that could be problematic for the Patriots. But I think the Patriots still run because I don't think they're going to let Hoyer throw. And the Packers, they typically don't load the box. They typically play their nickel as their base. Now, do they make an adjustment here? Maybe, but they think they're successful with what they have. So I could see that world. I could totally see that world. Rod wants to know Jamal Williams or Drake London. So I think that Jamal Williams has a very good scoring floor this week because he's going to have good opportunity. He has a very, very, very good matchup against Seattle. He should be in, and he should see some extra targets. Amon-Ra St. Brown out means I think Hockenson and Williams get a little more work, and obviously Swift out. That's a big deal there. And honestly, I don't know that London has bigger upside than Jamal Williams because Jamal Williams, he has 2 touchdown upside. And this is a game where they could get in the red zone. So I'm going to say 55% to 45% Jamal Williams. Close, but again, I like him there. Somebody wants to know the trade Connor and Boyd for Akers, Henderson, and Josh Palmer. I would lean to the Connor and Boyd side. I think that Connor, when they get DeAndre Hopkins back, I think they could spread the field out more. And I think Connor could be a bigger deal down the stretch. Love Akers as a player. I just haven't seen enough yet to think that he's going to get back to his level. I think Connor can get back to that. I don't think it's talent or performance. I think it's opportunity. And I think when they get Hopkins back, that offense changes a bit. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. Santini, you got half PPR. Dylan, Hunt, Bateman, Garrett Wilson, pick one. I think Dylan has a very good floor ceiling combo this week. I think Green Bay's have a lot of success running the ball against the Patriots. And if they get a lead, which I do think they will get, I think they can continue to lean on that. And I think Dylan could get a multi-touchdown game here. For that purpose, I mean, his usage every week is great. So I just think he's your kind of your option. Garrett Wilson, we have Zach Wilson at quarterback. We're not quite sure what we're getting there. And I think Dylan, at least we know what we're getting. So I would lean toward Dylan there. And then you have Bateman, DJ Moore, and Dubs pick one. You know, it just got interesting with DJ Moore as I'm looking at the matchup against Arizona. Arizona gets like no pass rush. And the biggest problem with the passing attack for Baker Mayfield is he's been under pressure, and he can't play under pressure. That's his problem. Well, there shouldn't be pressure this week. And their cornerbacks are bad. The Cardinals are a bad defense. They went from being a very good one to a very bad one very quickly. And so DJ Moore does have upside, but this could be a low-scoring game. So Dubs, I don't know how much they're going to throw, but they will use play action. And I do think he earned some trust, but we've got to see it a second week. If you have other good options, which you do. Bateman should be in a high-scoring game, and they're going to need him. And there are injuries in the Bills secondary at corner too. So I think Bateman seems to be the combo of floor and ceiling among this group for this particular game, but you wouldn't be crazy to consider DJ Moore for this 1 week because this is the 1 week it could actually work out. And so what do we got here? We got Rodgers or Wentz. You know what? I think this could be another implosion game for Wentz. Their center is out. Their line is going to have problems against Dallas's pass rush. And when Wentz is under pressure, we get the implosion games like we saw last week. So I think Aaron Rodgers might not have a great ceiling, but I think he's far safer than Wentz this week. Wentz worries me a lot. And then we got half PPR, Njoku or Chark. Chark has an injured ankle. I don't know how serious that is or not, and that concerns me a little bit, but it's a great matchup for Chark if he's healthy. So that's the question you have to answer. So if you're going to take the risk he is healthy, then Chark is your play because he has floor and upside. Njoku, we've seen his targets go up 3 straight weeks. Now he won't get that 9 for 89 or whatever he had last week every week. We know that, but I think he's emerging as the number 2 there. And against Atlanta, it could be a higher scoring game. I think Njoku is your safe play. But I think if you really need to swing for upside, Chark has upside, but you got to wonder if he has that going for him. Now, Christian McCaffrey, I think he's playing, but I think Adam Schefter should land that. If he plays, I have the over on the 62.5 yards for a prop because he does have a fantastic matchup. Because if he plays, he should be good to go. But that's a great question there, right? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I do think he plays, but Adam Schefter probably solves that for us in the morning. All right, let's see. Iron Eddie, full PPR, no pivot. If I wait, Godwin. Now you got to go Dotson because I'm not even sure how, Godwin comes in. Is he on risk for another setback? And missing the reps for a few weeks. I would just say Dotson and call it a day. Flex, you got Hall or London. Hall finally overtook Carter in snaps, but the touches didn't necessarily go that way. London has a really good matchup. I just don't think that is Cleveland. I know they got Denzel Ward, but they have not stopped receivers and the big bodied receiver. They're doing play action and they're using real heavy personnel. They're getting favorable matchups. And so I would say London is probably your play here. I know last week wasn't as high as you wanted, but he still kind of came through. So I think London is like the number one receiver in that offense. So I think you got to go with that. They're really pushing it downfield. All right. Best bet 24, Bateman or Smith-Schuster. Tampa Bay is a good pass defense, and Smith-Schuster hasn't really done anything great. He had two good, strong floor games, not sitting, but they were very, very productive. Bateman's been a little up and down, but I expect that game's going to shoot out a bit, and I expect they're going to have to throw a little more than they want. I don't think they can stick in their cocoon and run the ball, so I think they're going to have to throw. So I do think Bateman's a strong play this week, but this said, Smith-Schuster probably has a better floor because they probably will have to throw some underneath stuff. So I think he's a safer floor. Bateman has a reasonable floor, but I think he has more ceiling. So I think you kind of go on what you need there. Larry Eddie Goff, Mariota, or Zach Wilson. It's not a bad matchup for Mariota. He's throwing the ball well downfield off a play action. I was mentioning earlier, they're using all the heavy sets, and Arthur Smith really has dialed in on the play action, and he's got Pitts and Drake London. Last week they started to unlock them both a little bit. So I think Mariota is a reasonable play. Zach Wilson could have a really good game, but and Mariota could run though. So I think right now, we kind of say Mariota has a little leg up on Zach Wilson because there's some uncertainty with Wilson coming back. Goff, I'm going to sit this week. He loves that middle of the field, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's out, DeAndre Swift is out, and I don't know how he because he's just really been leaning on St. Brown and not having him. That's a big hit, and not having Swift's a big hit because Swift could make big yardage on catches, which he's very explosive. I got an Insta question, Josh. All right. You have Mike Williams and Sutton at wide receiver. Can't decide between Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Jeff Wilson, or Juju at the flex. So Ayuk, the way Shanahan's run his system, he's gotten a lot of advantage over the Rams in the yardage after the catch. He has a really good design route combination that gets them the ball quickly in their hands before the defender's going to get it. And Troy Hill, the corner, is out for them too. And with Debo on the field, we're certainly not going to see a shadow situation with Jalen Hurts. They haven't been shadowing him anyway. So Ayuk is a good play. Jeff Wilson is a bad matchup and no Trent Brown. That hurts. Ayuk isn't really hurt by the offensive line because they're going to get the ball in his hands very quickly when they do. Garrett Wilson, I want to give it a week with Zach Wilson. I just don't know what Zach Wilson's going to do with him. Jeff Wilson, bad matchup, like I said. Juju has the best floor of this group. I think Jeff, because he's going to get a number of catches underneath and he'll have some kind of a floor. And Ayuk, there are weeks he disappears. So I think Juju's your floor play and Ayuk is your ceiling play because Ayuk could have a big game here. Just don't like the Jeff Wilson matchup this week with Trent Williams out. Juan, Michael Pittman or Drake London. I think we got to go with Pittman. Pittman gets elite target usage. He did well against Tennessee in both meetings last year. He's the focal point of passing. Even if they want to run the ball, they are going to throw, and he just gets those targets. So I think we say Michael Pittman because the targets are just like 10 a week, 11 a week, whereas London had a couple 8s or so. It's just that Pittman is a bigger part of the consistent offense. And yeah, I'm going to say Pittman about – I'm going to say 60 to 40% there. How confident am I starting Olave with Wentz now? I'm not. Andy Dalton, Minnesota's had a good pass rush this year. I think they're 10th in pressure rate. And Andres Pete, the left guard, is out. That doesn't help a line that's scuffling as is. Not that Andres Pete's playing at a high level. He's not. But they got to go down to a replacement now, and that's not good. And if Andy Dalton gets skittish, he ain't throwing downfield. If he does, I don't know how well he's getting the ball to Olave. So I'm very nervous. Whereas Jameis doesn't care. Jameis just chucks the ball up. He's like, fine. And he just throwing it up for Olave, and knowing Olave will get there. I don't think Andy Dalton's that guy. So I think right now we're a little nervous. I think, I on the confidence meter, it's literally like a 4 out of 10, 4 out of 10 confidence meter. Come on, Schultz or Ingram? Ingram has been a big part of the attack, but Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is probably going to be on him. He's their safety. And my guess is they're probably going to assign him a bit to Ingram. That's a bad matchup for Evan Ingram. Gardner-Johnson is really good. Dalton Schultz is expected back, and he'll get you to 5 catches for 35 yards, but that's a tight end. That's not bad. It's going to be catch and fall stuff. There's no way he's 100%, right? And I don't know how much upside Ingram has in this matchup. I'm going to still say Dalton shows 55 to 45%. That's where we'll go with that one. Insta question, should I start Olave or Chark? So Chark has the ankle. If we knew he was healthy, man, he'd be a slam dunk start. But if he's going to play, and we'll know early in the day if he's going to play, but you got Olave in that real early window. So you got to make a decision early. I would lean Chark, but if then Chark's ankle's an issue, they deactivate him, then you're stuck. So I put in Olave, but if I got definitive word like from Adam Schefter overnight, which we covered on the XM show in the morning, but you probably, I don't know if you have XM or not, but from 9 to 10 Eastern, we go over the injuries. If Chark's going to be active, you play Chark. If you don't know, then you got to go to Olave. All right, Rod, Jamal Williams, London, or Samuel? Williams is going to have a heck of a role here this week. I mean, he's going to be used as a runner and a receiver. He'll get about 70% of the snap share, 65, 70%. He won't get it all. He'll be sharing that with Craig Reynolds, but he'll take the lead, of course. And it's a great matchup against Seattle. He should have a big game there. Drake London. Did I just pull that off? Hang on a second. Let me see here. Oops. Sorry, NC guys. I think we just screwed something up there. There we go. There we go. See if we're still there. All right. There we go. We'll get back here. I think my foot hit something and it pulled that camera down. All right. We're back at it. All right. So we got Jamal Williams. So now Drake London, it is a good matchup. You know, there's nothing wrong with the Drake London matchup here. But Jamal Williams has such a great floor this week. And Drake London's playing Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't been great against the pass. Curtis Samuel getting over 10 touches a week. I think Jamal Williams, though, it has the edge because his role should be diverse. And if they get in the red zone, they're going to use him there as well. So I think we go that route. All right, let's see what else we got here. Is there any questions I'm missing here? Good here and good there. All right. All right, good deal. Let me turn this. All right, good. All right. Chef, should I trade Edwards-Helaire and Freiermuth for Godwin and Patterson? Edwards-Hilaire's been getting it done as a receiver. The snap share is awful. It's like 40%, but he's getting it done. Will that continue? That's a good question, right? Freiermuth, to me, he had the 1 yardage game, but I kind of worried about him with Trubisky. Thought that Freiermuth was great with Ben Roethlisberger, but I just don't know how sustained his role is going to be. Getting Godwin, I mean, Godwin, that was not his knee was not reactive. It was a hamstring. And if he's fine, Chris Godwin could be a league winner down the stretch. I'd probably go with the Godwin Patterson side. I think so because Patterson, we were seeing, he's going to be utilized in the run game and not every week. It's kind of hit or miss, but I think his usage is similar to Edwards-Helaire and the Godwin Patterson side to me, probably 65 to 35%, if not 70-30. I like that side of it. All right, Juan. Garoppolo or Lawrence at quarterback. There's a world where Garoppolo does well here. Like I said earlier when I was talking about another question, that Shanahan will get the ball out quickly, get the ball in the hands of his receivers before the defensive backs contact him. Troy Hill is out. Lawrence doesn't have a good matchup here, but they might have to keep pace on the scoreboard, and Christian Kirk has an advantage because Devonte Maddox, the slot corner, is out. I think Lawrence, though, has a better floor because that 49ers-Rams game, I wouldn't be stunned if that game ended up 13-10. Whereas at least I know the Philly-Jacksonville game is probably going to have well more points. So I think Lawrence is just safer. I think Garoppolo has potentially more upside if the game gets crazy, but I think it's most likely that Lawrence is your best bet there. All right, let's see. Insta question. Thoughts on Deontay Johnson or Mclaurin? Deontay's always going to get your targets. Mitch wants to get the ball out. Deontay gets open instantly, so therefore he's getting you 7-8 catches a game. So, that's fine. So you got that going. And then Mclaurin, he's in a target crunch. And Dallas is going to get some real heat on Carson Wentz. So if they do that, makes it a little tougher for Mclaurin and sharing targets, whereas Deontay Johnson has a phenomenal floor. All right, let's see. What else we got here? Come on, Stevenson or Gibson? Stevenson fairly easily. I think that he's going to be heavily utilized. Green Bay can't stop the run. They're just awful against it, whereas Gibson's role is just so kind of hit or miss. So it's not a great role, and Stevenson should have at least the role Gibson has, and if not more. So I'm going to say it's going to be like 65-35% Gibson. Hilton, done with A-Rob, but I play Dobbins, Burks, or Dotson in PPR. So Dobbins doesn't have a great matchup. And Buffalo has been very good against the run somehow. They play nickel, but they stop the run. So it's not a very good matchup. And I still think his workload is going to be limited for a while. Burks, we didn't like the targets last week, but it is a very good matchup for him. And if they choose to get him going, that could be very beneficial. Dotson probably has the best floor of the group because he's been getting at least 5 targets a game. So I think Dotson is safe. And you also know he's a factor in the red zone. Now they're playing Dallas, but Dallas have a great pass rush on them. But ultimately, I think Dotson is probably your best blend of floor and ceiling. I think Burks might have a higher ceiling here, but his floor could be very low if that game gets real run heavy. So I'd probably be inclined to lean slightly Dotson. If you got a gut feel, go with that for sure. Delroy got to pick 2 to start. Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, Greg Dortch. Yeah, no doubt. So Davis, we're not sure about the ankle, and that's the whole thing. He apparently re-aggravate in practice, probably. No update on Kamara that I've heard yet. He's supposed to play, is my knowledge. So Gabe Davis, that worries me about the ankle. And he probably has the least advantageous of the matchups against the Ravens because between Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, that's a bad matchup for Davis. Not a bad matchup for Diggs because Diggs is an elite route runner. So I think Davis with the limited ankle and the matchups, I think that scares me off. Cooks has been dropping some passes. They move him around a lot, so he won't be stuck on J.C. Jackson all day, which will be good. So I think Cooks has a fair floor. Dortch has been productive. I'm wondering how Arizona decides to get it done against Carolina, and that's where my situation comes in. I don't know they have enough of a pass rush to make Kyler get the ball out to the slot, and Rondale Moore could play. If Rondale Moore plays and he's questionable, Dortch is probably out of work. He might be a real small snapper. I'm going to go Brandon Cook slightly here. All right, let's see. I got an instant question. Thoughts on James Conner? The coach said he wants to use Conner better, and he singled him out, saying he's not using him well. So there's that. And the matchup against Carolina is not outrageous. You have him at JT. Try to replace. It's a tough when DeAndre Hopkins comes back in week 7. I think it's going to be a lot better for Conner. Defense is going to approach them a lot differently right now. But when they get Marquise Brown and Hopkins out there, I think Conner's a second half charge. I think he's a player to target right now. I think I target him. I would. His receiving game ability is great. The run blocking is horrible, but he had that last year. So, but I think when they get in the red zone more, he'll get a lot of touchdowns too. Robert, all right, man. Need to pick one this week. Dubs or Gallup? I think they're going to use some play action in Green Bay. They're going to run the ball, but they're going to have play action, and Belichick's going to have to respect it. And Dubs showed he could win in single coverage last week, and Aaron Rodgers may trust him. Gallup's coming back from a long left, and it's Cooper Rush. If it was Dak Prescott, I might go Gallup here, but since it's Cooper Rush, I think I'm going to go Romeo Doubs here. All right, let's see what we got here. Come on, Dubs or Garrett Wilson. So I'm a little anxious about how Zach Wilson meshes with Wilson right away. It's going to take time. They didn't have any chemistry because basically Zach Wilson missed like all the training camp with the knee injury, or most of it. And so I'd be inclined to go Dubs here, understanding that Garrett Wilson is going to be a star, but I'm a little nervous with Zach Wilson. Is he going to throw the ball to Elijah Moore? Maybe. So I think Dubs right now, I give him like a 52-48% lean there. If you got a gut feel for Wilson, go with it because Wilson's a stud, right? All right, let's see. We got to roll with Dubs or pick up Ayuk. I pick up Ayuk. I would pick up Ayuk for the rest of the season. They're going to get him involved. They get him the ball underneath a lot. They also end up to throw deep a lot because Jimmy G doesn't really do that, but they can use him there too. I think overall, I do like Dubs a lot. I mean, if you think he could emerge as the number one there, and if he does, then I guess he gets the edge up on Ayuk. But both teams want to run the ball, so I don't think they're either throwing it a ton. That's a toss-up. I do like Ayuk a bit better because I think Ayuk ultimately is a better football player, and that means that we may be able to bet on that. But that's not an easy question. So, I mean, I'd say Ayuk, but if you got a gut feel, roll with it. Alec, do you start Mike Williams, Debo, or Curtis Samuel? Samuel has the floor. He definitely has the floor. Mike Williams, they just week to week, we never know how the heck they're going to use him. And I think Williams has an amazing ceiling this week against the Texans. But are they going to run the ball all day because they're playing the worst run defense in the league? Samuel's your safe floor guy. You got Debo, though. And Debo has crushed the Rams. So let me think that back. knowing he's crushed the Rams, even when Jalen Ramsey's been on the field, if they go with that game plan, the Rams can't stop it. They get the ball in his hands as a receiver. I'm gonna go Debo. I'm gonna go Debo here. I think they've done it and they're gonna keep doing it. All right, Hilton done with. Oh, yeah, we had that one. All right, good. And then is Khalil Herbert's a must start this week. Yeah, he definitely is. Got to start Khalil Herbert. They're playing the Giants. Giants are a below average run defense. Leonard Williams is out. That's a huge loss for them. So yes. All right, and then somebody had Williams, Debo, and Curtis. Which two do you start? Debo and Mike Williams. Williams for ceiling, Curtis, Samuel for floor. So it's Debo for sure. If you want the safe floor play, it's Curtis. If you want a boom bust option, it's Mike Williams. He could hurt you, but he could have the big game. All right, Johnny, Pickens, Gallup, Mooney need two. You know what? Man. Pickens had to make an amazing catch for that actually even happen because like Mitch can't throw. So I can't trust Mitch. It was a beautiful catch, but he can't make those every week. And he's not getting targets. And I know Mooney's been awful, but Mooney should get some targets. I'm going to say Gallup and Mooney. I'm going to leave Pickens out. I just don't trust Mitch Trubisky to get him the ball. And then a lot of your dubs for Chris. I'm worried about Andy Dalton and Andres Pete, the left guard's out. I think Andy Dalton's under a bad pass rush here. Minnesota's getting after it this year. I'm going to say dubs here, 60 to 40%. And let's see what we got here. We've got Devonte, Dillon, Brees, or Pollard, full PPR. Oh, man, Devonte took a big hit. Their center, Quinn Miners, he's like an elite run blocker. He's out. I don't know if the Raiders is make a difference. I think he still gets it done against the Raiders. So I think we're going to just roll with Devonte because star level talent. We'd like him to get more touches. He doesn't. And I like Dillon this week. I think Dillon's going to have a big game against the Patriots. They should have a lead too, and they can lean on him. I could see him scoring multiple. I'm not predicting multiple touchdowns, but I could see multiple touchdowns there. But this is a good week for him. Another instant question. Lawrence, Brady, or Cousins? Brady's got a lot to overcome right now. The receivers are not healthy. Cousins has it's a bad matchup. Saints haven't get a pass rush, but their coverage is very good. I'm going to say that Lawrence is your floor guy, but Cousins does have a ceiling because Marshawn Lattimore doesn't match up well with Justin Jefferson. And if they get him going, Cousins could have the explosion game. So risk reward with Cousins. You want safe, go with Trevor Lawrence. And then one more before I go back over to YouTube and Twitter. Thoughts on Jonathan Taylor. Should be a big week for him. There are a couple defenders out on the other side of the ball for Tennessee's defense. That's going to hurt them. Zach Cunningham is out, and their strong safeties out. So that's two of their run defender package are out, and they've been middling against the run. Taylor didn't do great against the Titans last year, but I think this sets up for a big game for him. All right. Newbie Saibot, CEH or Gibson. So Edwards-Helaire is looking great as a receiver. He's only getting about 40% of the snaps, but he's been effective there. And I do think they need him against Tampa Bay, who is going to blitz. They're going to blitz. They're going to pressure. They're going to pressure with forward stunt a bit. They probably know better than to blitz Mahomes, so they might do it judiciously. But I still think they're going to dump the ball off a little bit here this week. So I think Edwards-Helaire is a good play. Now, Gibson's are playing Dallas. You know, he's had good games against Dallas, but he isn't quite the same role or type of player he was in that rookie season when he went storm rolled Dallas. I'm going to say that CEH has a higher ceiling, but Gibson has a higher floor because CEH doesn't catch a few passes. He's not getting it done on the ground. So if you need like 7 or 8 points, then Gibson's your guy. If you got to get 12, 13, I think Edwards-Helaire is more likely to get, but he has a low floor because things may not work out so well. All right, Johnny, you've got Hunt or Zeke. Zeke has a significant floor. I'm not at all worried about Zeke's matchup this week. I think Washington is not going to be a juggernaut against the run. I think he gets it done here. So I think he's a strong floor play. Hunt always has that big game upside, but he hasn't really consistently shown that this year. So I think Zeke's kind of your guy here. Thomas, you got Cooks, Olave, or Dubs need two. I'm going to sit Olave because Jameis is out. Left guard Andres Pete's out, and the Vikings have a really good pass rush. And I think Andy Dalton's going to get a little skittish under there, and he won't just chuck it up like Jameis Winston does. Actually, it's irresponsible, but it works because Olave's really good. But Andy Dalton's not likely to do that, so I'm a little bit nervous about Olave this week. Best bet, Herbert or Stevens. Oh, you know what? Herbert is much more likely to see a higher level of touches. I think Stevenson has great upside this week. And he maybe uses a receiver if they fall behind. But I think Khalil Herbert, because Damien Harris could always chip in Stevenson's workload. Khalil Herbert's going to be the lead back in a very good matchup. Leonard Williams is out for the Giants. That's a big deal here. All right, and then Johnny Surfer, you need 2. McLaurin, Reynolds, Dortch, Gage, or Mooney. McLaurin, the only thing that worries me is Dallas's pass rush is going to be very problematic for Carson Wentz, and the downfield game for McLaurin may not be going, but he is a superstar, you know. So his talent is the best of that group. So I'm going to play McLaurin unless I have a dynamite option, which I don't think there is. Dortch, I'm a little worried that Rondale Moore plays, and if he plays, then Dortch is kind of relegated. And I think Gage is safer than Mooney right now, and I think that even if Godwin plays, Godwin's not 100%. Julio's not 100%. So I think Gage still finds his way into 35, 40 snaps. And with Kansas City's pass rush lately, I think the slot's going to be open. I would go with McLaurin and Gage there. And then instant question, Bateman, Burks, Gage, or Chark. All right, so Bateman is probably your best boom bust. That game could shoot out, and Buffalo's a little dinged up in the secondary, so I think that's a good game for him. Chark, the ankle is a little bit of a concern. If his ankle is 100%, he has a phenomenal matchup. Seattle doesn't rush the passer. They have poor corners. Chark would have even more upset than me, but if his ankle limits him at all, I'll give me the healthy guy or the unhealthy guy. I think Gage is the best floor in this group because I think he's going to see 6 or 7 catches because of the nature of facing Kansas City, who's been very good at pressuring, and their outside corner has been very good. So I think Gage is a good one. But Bateman probably is your best boom bust guy. I mean, not your floor and good floor with ceiling guy. So Bateman's a good choice there. Johnny, PPR flex, Pierce, Dillon, Bateman, or Dubs. I think Dillon's in a great spot this week. I think they're going to use him heavily, and I think that we have seen that New England can't really stop the run this year. I think he's your safest of them all with reasonable upside. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, we've got CB. You need 2 running backs, a receiver, and a flex. So you need 1, 2, 4 of them. Zeke, Pierce, Hunt, Hall, Dobbins, Samuel. Wow, that's a big list of guys. I'm worried about Gabe Davis. He's not 100%. He's either going to be Marlon Humphrey or Marcus Peters, and I think the middle of the field will be a lot more useful for Josh Allen tomorrow. So, but that said, Gabe Davis could have a big game at any time if he's healthy. But they said he had a setback in practice. So can he have another one in a game? That would make me. So look, take your chance if you think he could. If he plays, he could have a boom game. But I think there's far more chance that he could not finish the game. So that could be problematic. Zeke, great floor. Pierce, I don't like his matchup. The Chargers are much better against the run. I think for once that Houston's going to play from behind. I think it's going to game script him a bit. Hunt, reasonable option always against Atlanta. He's going to get his double-digit touches. Breece Hall did see more snaps last week over Michael Carter, but Carter's still kind of winning the workload. Dobbins, I still think his workload is limited, and Buffalo's been really good against the run. Samuel has a great floor. London has floor with some ceiling. So I'm going to say, the 4 guys. I'm going to say Zeke, Samuel, London. If you feel you need to go with Davis, then you go with Davis. If you sit him, I think the 4th one in this group would be Hunt. That's how I would lean with those. All right. Bialy, PPR, Stevenson or Samuel. Samuel has the better floor. He's getting double-digit touches a week, and so that floor is amazing. And, again, I love Stevenson's matchup, and I think he could be a big, big, big factor, but Damien Harris could be involved. So there's a lot more risk with Stevenson from week to week. Stevenson has a big amount of upside here because Green Bay is awful against the run, and he could stormroll them easily, and he could find touchdowns, too. So Stevenson is your upside play. But if you want to play it safe and get your double-digit fantasy points and just call it a day, then you go with Curtis Samuel. John, trade Drake London for Swift. Running backs are usually way, depending on the league setting, but the running back should be way more useful. And the Swift may miss another game after this. London already shows he's going to be a star in the league, right? But I think they're going to get Pitts involved too. So I think it's going to be a little bit of give and take. And but that's I think it's scarcity. To me, give me the running back. I'll take the running back, especially where you probably drafted London. It means you probably have other receivers you can count on. Whereas Swift is a high draft pick and for a good reason. And if he comes back healthy, he should be fine. You're risking injury always at running backs. I would go with the running back. Rod waiver. I dropped Allen Robinson for. I wouldn't. I think Russell Gage. Fortunately, last week he got force-fed a ton of targets, and I think he's fine. But once Godwin's healthy, and I don't know if Julio will ever be healthy, but if it's Godwin and Evans are fully healthy, I just think that Gage has a low floor. I know Robinson hasn't been good, but I still think there's some chemistry building going on there. And I think by the middle of the season, I think that he'll be decent. I think Robinson will be a strong wide receiver 3 with upside to be a wide receiver 2. Whereas Gage is probably more like a wide receiver 4 with maybe a wide receiver 3 upside right now. I would reluctantly give Robinson. This is a tough matchup this week, but I do think that Robinson's going to be better over there. He only had 2 touchdowns in the one game. There was some weird thing with the referee. They blew a playoff that was a touchdown to Robinson, and we're looking at him a little bit differently because that 2 touchdown game. Mark, Pierce, Stevenson, Dubs need 1 PPR. I'm going to roll with Stevenson here. I think Stevenson, there's risk with Dubs, right? Because we don't know, is he going to repeat that role now that maybe he's earned Aaron Rodgers' trust. But Pierce, I don't like his matchup with the Chargers. Chargers are much better against the run this year. You got Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day in the middle. They really helped. Khalil Mack helped against the run. So now they're not that bottom feeder run defense. And if they play with a lead here, which I think they can, I think that makes it tough for Pierce to have game script his way. But I think Stevenson is the play this week because, again, it's a great matchup. Packers are awful against the run. And if they fall behind, he may be the receiving back. So I like him there. Now, Dubs has real upside on, play. He could have a big game. He could put up 100 yards. He could. But I think Stevenson has an equal chance of doing that. And I think Stevenson has a more likely better floor. Mark, Knox or Evan Ingram. So Ingram's going to see more targets most likely. But I think this could be a Knox game. And the reason is Baltimore, their outside corners are good. I think there's a middle of the field game. I think that you could attack Baltimore in the middle of the field. Make Patrick Queen cover people, not good. So this could be a Knox game, but Knox has like really low downside. But Evan Ingram is probably going to see Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a safety, but he's a slot corner playing safety. I think it's a bad matchup for Ingram, but I think Ingram's going to see more targets. So Ingram's your floor play. I think he has a better floor, but I think Knox, he could get in the end zone this week. And where I think he has a bigger probability of that, tight ends are tough, right? So Ingram's a little safer. Knox, I think, has more upside this week. Come on, Josh Palmer. We got to go Garrett Wilson. Zach Wilson's in his first game. We don't know what it's going to be, but Josh Palmer's role is just it's inconsistent week to week. And Houston's the worst run defense in the league. I think they're going to run the ball a lot and keep Justin Herbert safe for a week. They're not going to make him throw a lot, in my opinion. I could be wrong. They could be idiots and risk his ribs, but I don't think they have to this week because it's the worst run defense in the league. They're giving like 5.7 yards a carry. So I think Garrett Wilson's your play this week. Rendon. Would I trade Damien Pierce, DJ Moore, and Knox for Hawkinson, DK, and Cam Akers? Yeah, I still think Damien Pierce is like a weekly floor play. I don't think there's a lot of six. They're not going to get in the red zone a lot. DJ Moore he'll have a good game tomorrow, I think. But anytime they see any pressure, Baker can't handle pressure. And I love the Hawkinson, DK, and Akers because I think all 3 of those guys you're buying low on. And I think that's where the beauty of that trade is. Whereas I think among those 3 guys, 1 or 2 can hit, but on the Pierce, Moore, and Knox side, I don't know that any of them are hitting for sure. I think the likelihood of 1 or 2 hits on the Hawkins and DK Akers side are likely. All right. Hey, and while we're going, we got a few more questions here. Oh, we got quite a bit more. But remember, hit the like button if you're on YouTube. Subscribe button would be great. We'd appreciate that. And jump over to RotoWire. You can get on for free for 2 days. No credit card needed. RotoWire.com/try. We'd love to have you part of the family over there. A lot of great content. All right. Scott, Mac Hollins or Richie James. So Richie James now has no target competition at all. Poor Sterling Shepard. I feel so bad for the guy. Guy can't catch a injury break this, and for anything, he's always hurt. Mac Hollins has seen 80+% target share, like 87+% all 3 weeks. He didn't get targets in the first week, I don't think, but the second and the third week, he was targeted, well, and he had 60 yards, I think, in the second game. So he's part of that offense. Now, if Josh McDaniels had a brain, he would be, I don't mean that. If he had a coaching way to figure things out, he'd be getting Devonte Adams the ball as much as possible. 0-3, got to get him the ball, but he might not be doing that. He might simply be saying, okay, they're bracketing Devonte, so we're just going to throw to somebody else. And until we see him change that, I think Mac Hollins is going to be useful, especially with Hunter Renfrow out. So I'm going to go with Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins does have one thing Richie James doesn't. It's a ceiling. I like Richie James a lot. James is a floor play, but Hollins has a similar floor, I think, right now, especially with the loss of Hunter Renfrow again. Johnny Surfer. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. Alec, Kittle or Higbee? Man, we've come to this. It's a good question. It's a real good question. Kittle's going to have to block, I think. I mean, Trent Williams is out, and Kittle's a devastating run blocker. He's also great as a pass blocker, and their line is taking a lot of hits. Their line is not very good right now in San Francisco. Kittle's going to be needed to block. Now, can Kittle break loose on a play action, get over behind linebackers and take one to the house? Yes, 100% he can. So Higbee's your floor play. Higbee should get you 4 catches for 40 yards. He's not going off. Fred Warner is going to guard him a lot, and Fred Warner is an amazing, amazing defender. So Higbee doesn't have any ceiling, I don't think. Kittle does always have ceiling. So probably Higbee's ceiling isn't enough in this game. His floor isn't high enough in this game to make me say over Kittle. So the more I think this through, that based on Higbee's bad match with Fred Warner, most likely most of the night, I'm going to go with Kittle 70-30. I'm going to actually expand that one out. Yeah. All right. Cash Locks, Jerry, Ayuk, DJ Moore. If there's a week to play DJ Moore, this is it, because you're not going to see a pass rush from Arizona. Arizona can't rush the passer. They're horrible at it. They can't cover. So this is a week where they could get going with DJ Moore. So DJ Moore, the week to use him. It's a week to trade him too. It's a week, if he does well, sell, because matchups don't get better. I put DJ Moore 1, Ayuk 2, because Shanahan is very good at scheming open receivers quickly against the Rams. He understands how the Rams attack defensively, and he can. Jerry Judy's number 3. I just don't think that Russell Wilson is looking for Judy in the areas of the field where Jerry Judy typically runs, and that's not a good combination. Scott, you got Lockett or Olave. I'm nervous about Olave this week. Winston will just chuck it up to him and go get it, and Olave will do that. Andy Dalton, I don't think is that guy. Andy Dalton made too many mistakes in his career, and he just doesn't want to make those mistakes. And Andres Pete, the left guard, he hasn't been great, but they're going to go to somebody worse than him. And the Vikings have been a good pass rush this year. So I think all those together, to me, it's an underneath game. I don't trust Andy Dalton to get Olave the ball, where Lockett's been busy, and they have a beautiful match with Detroit. Detroit, I know that Hutchinson had the 3 sacks. Their pressure rates are at the bottom of the league. Their corners, and I know, Okudah did fine last week against Justin Jefferson. I think it was more Vikings are scuffling right now. I think Lockett's your better play here. He's been doing well with Geno the last couple of weeks. I go that route. Brian, all right. Half PPR. Curtis Samuel, McLaurin. Samuel has the better floor. He's going to get you 10 touches, carries, receptions, targets, all that a week. He can get you about 10. And so that turns into something. McLaurin is your boom bust guy. And I don't like his matchup this week because the Dallas pass rush is going to get the Carson Wentz. And that's the bottom line. And the problem is then we don't see the deep shots to McLaurin because Carson Wentz, this could be another implosion game here because he doesn't do well under pressure. And McLaurin has more upside because McLaurin, if he gets behind the defense and Dallas doesn't connect on the blitz, and Wentz will throw downfield. He'll make throws that are dumb throws, but they turn into something. So I think Samuel is really safe. Get you a good solid base of points. I don't know how much upside's there, but if you got to swing for defense, then I think you got to go McLaurin because he always has that in his range of outcomes. Roger, Taysom Hill play this week. It's a good question because Jameis is out, Andy Dalton's in. They may want to go with a little bit more gadgetry. I could see that. They had to have known Winston wasn't going to play early in the week. They had to have known that internally. And so I could totally see that. It's a very, like you said, it's a risk. It's a risk. But yes, he could be involved this week because they may want to run a package. But and especially if they get in the red zone, my guess is they would prefer him over Andy Dalton there. So I think that's a shrewd move. Yeah, I think that's a very shrewd move. Yeah. All right, let's see. South City, 12 team, need a flex. Najee, DK, Darrell Henderson, Elijah Moore. Darrell Henderson's touches have gone down, down, down. His snaps are still about 50%, but basically, I was saying this through the offseason, Sean McVay has never trusted Henderson to stay healthy and be on the field, and that's why he limits his touches. He likes him as a change of pace guy, and that's about it. Najee does have a good matchup. They should be okay against the Jets. So I think we got that going for us here. And Elijah Moore just hasn't gotten it done this year. Now I know Zach Wilson's back, so I'm very hopeful that turns around fast. But, and DK, the thing is, wonderful matchup, but is this the week they're finally going to run the ball? Because you can run on Detroit too. Ultimately, I think the best floor play is Najee. I think the best ceiling play is DK because DK can get behind his defense, or he can actually take off after the catch and go through somebody. So I think DK has a lot of potential ceiling, make it on his own, but I think Najee's safe and he has a reasonable ceiling. All right, let's see what we got here. Ryan, do you start as your Gabe Davis versus the bad Ravens secondary or Josh Palmer? You know what? I would roll with Gabe Davis over Josh Palmer here because I think that the Texas are the worst run defense in the league. They have like 5.7 yards a carry, and I think they're going to get the running game going. They're probably this is a week they can protect Justin Herbert's ribs. I don't think they have to expose him to throwing the ball. So I think that's what we're looking at. I would go with that. Got an instant question: Garrett Wilson, Godwin, or Cooks? Garrett Wilson, I do like to give him a week with Zach Wilson to see if there's chemistry there. There was with Flacco. Flacco didn't think twice, but Zach Wilson has a lot of training camps. So I don't know if he has chemistry with Wilson yet. And he might go to Elijah Moore a little bit more. So in Godwin, we're a little bit worried about, is he fully 100%? Is he back? Is he even playing? And he has a night game, so he's still questionable. So I just think Brandon Cooks has been dropping some passes. I get that. But I really think against the Chargers, don't worry about J.C. Jackson because they move Cooks in the slot upwards of 43% of the time. So he'll be freed up a lot, and I think they'll have to score some. So to me, I give Cooks the edge here. I give him the edge here. Definitely give him the edge here. B. Ali, Palmer over Devonte Smith. No, I'm not going to. Just like I said in that last question, I think you can run the ball in Houston all day, and I hope they don't overthink this one. That's kind of how I'm leaning. That's what I think here. CB, you're welcome. Joe, good to see you. All right. And all right, Joe, what do you got here? You got PPR, pick one. And from the other two, pick one. Judy, pick one receiver. Oh, okay. Judy, Dubs, Pollard. So the thing I worry about with Judy is that what I'm seeing is Russell Wilson is not looking in the areas of the field where Judy excels. And I worried about this before the season. Wilson can't see over the line. And that's a big problem. If Jerry Judy's running interior routes, he's not seeing them. And remember, week one, the big play was they threw something downfield. That wasn't a route Judy typically runs, and they hit on that. So, you know what? Dubs is risky because we don't know he's going to get the same work he got last week. But you think he earned some trust, and off of play action, we showed Dubs could beat single coverage, and that's huge. I'm going to lean Dubs here, and I'm going to say Pollard is my second. I'm going to sit Judy. I'm going to sit Jerry Judy. And I know the matchup's not bad. I just don't think Russell's getting him the ball. I think that's the problem. Theo, hey, thanks, man. Yeah, me and Mario, we're going to be on the show today, man, in about an hour, 57 minutes. Mario and I will be on the air. So, yeah, Sirius XM, Channel 87, Fantasy Sports Channel, myself and Mario Puig, 1 to 3 Eastern. Now, also, Theo, every Sunday morning, I'm on with Alan Soslowski, 9 to 10. We'll go over a lot of everything you need to know game day. It's a huge power hour. I think you'd love the show. So, yeah, catch me there, definitely. I got an instant question. Alec, what defense? Browns, Bucks, Vikings. I like the Vikings this week. Andres Pete, the left guard's out for the Saints. The Vikings have had a real good pass rush. Andy Dalton's in. I like the Cowboys, too, because we could have another implosion. We have an implosion game from old Carson Wentz. I think Cowboys be number one because they're bringing it heat-wise. PNLB, thanks, man. I appreciate that, man. I love being on the radio. It's just a great blessing to be on there. It makes me so excited to be able to share my passion with everybody. Appreciate that. PNLB, you got Olave or Samuel. I'm going to go with Samuel this week. I'm just worried about left guard Andres Pete being out, the pass rush being really good for the Vikings, and I'm also worried that Andy Dalton is not just going to chuck it up like Jameis Winston was. Olave was making a lot of hay on just, old Jameis chucking it up, and that's a beautiful thing for Olave. I just don't think Andy Dalton does that. All right, Alec. Is the Texans backfield reliable? It depends. If they fall behind big in a game, I think it's going to be the Rex Burkhead show. This could be a week they fall behind, but I think in most weeks the Texans are actually decent enough to keep games close. So I do think it is a little reliable from that. Most weeks, Pierce doesn't have a whole lot upside. He caught the Bears, got a touchdown, but I think his normal week is like 45 to 70 yards, very little in the passing game. Maybe gets 4 touchdowns on the season. So that's what we're looking at. But the Burkhead will be useless other than games that they're probably going to trail a lot. All right, let's see. Emmanuel, Burks, Reynolds, or Dotson. There definitely could be a case for Reynolds this week because Seattle's terrible and DJ Chark may be limited with an ankle, and we know Amon-Ra's out. And so there's definitely but I don't know how much ceiling Reynolds has. I just don't know, because if Hawkinson gets going this week, there's always Dotson has a decent floor, but he shares all those targets. Johnny, man, you got to run. Thank you. You're welcome. Burks. So Treylon Burks, we didn't like his targets last week, but he's becoming a part of that offense. I think Burks has a better ceiling this week. I love the matchup against Indy. Reynolds has a better floor, but I think Dotson is the best floor. So Dotson's your floor guy, and I think if you need a little more upside, I don't know how much Dotson's going to get done against Dallas. I think Burks would be kind of your boom bust guy if you need that. Bialy, PPR, Pierce or Olave. Oh man, wow. They both have matchups I don't like. The Andy Dalton thing scares the heck out of me. And again, left guard Andres Pete's out. I'm going to say Pierce this week. I do think that although the Chargers are way better against the run they were last year, they're still decent against it. So, but I think Pierce gets enough done here. Ed. All right. And Gibson or Cooks? I'm going to go with Cooks here. I think Cooks will be in the slot enough. I think they're going to have to throw a little bit. He's been dropping the ball. I think that gets fixed. I think it's just a little bit of a hiccup. I think we're not worried. Gibson, we're always worried about his workload. Giles, Sanders going, Gabe or Drake. So I'm a little worried at Gabe Davis's ankle. It was a setback in practice. That means he could have another one. So I just take the safe guy. Give me Drake London. He's getting targets. If Gabe Davis blows up, I mean, it is. But if he has a setback and you get like a 0, that's not so good. Prince. You got like half a person here. Oh, sorry. That's all right. I got more on the Twitter and YouTube. So I got friends. Don't worry. I got plenty of friends. I got great people who like me. Scott Kobe is one of them. Love Scott. Scott, oh, man, thank you. I appreciate you, man. I didn't even know that. I thought it was a question coming here. You said something nice to me. Thank you. It means a lot, man. Jacob, you got offered a trade. You'd get Daly, Cook, and Pickens. You'd give away James Robinson and Lockett. You know what? Somebody's selling because they're worried about Cook, and I'm not. That shoulder pops out for years and then goes back in, and they're going to harness him up, and he's even off the injury report. I'm going that route. I'm definitely going that route because I still think Dalvin Cook's in a great spot. He's playing well. So I definitely would like that one. Samuel or Bateman for Big Ham. Samuel has the far better floor here because he's going to get his 10 touches a week. Bateman, though, has real upside this week against Buffalo. Buffalo's dinged up in the secondary, and they may have to score a lot of points, and he could be really involved here. So I think if you need the upside game, Bateman could get you a good game, but he could also there's floor because it could be one of those games where the pressure is getting home on Lamar, and the Bills played up really well in their zone, so they could make it real tough on him. So Samuel's your safe play. Bateman's your boom bust guy. All right, let me see here. How many more do I have here? All right, I'm a J too nice to be my last question. I'm going to ask the rest of these. I'm going to stop there because I got to get ready for my serious show. All right. Alec, what defense? Browns, Bucks, Vikings. I think we answered this one before. Cowboys are your best bet. Vikings are a close second. B. Ali. Yahoo, would I play Taysom over Freiermuth? Freiermuth has a safer floor. I don't know how high Taysom's ceiling is because if Taysom doesn't get it done, even if he's in there, we're like hoping for a touchdown, right? Otherwise, we're getting some rushing attempts here. So I think I'd go with Freiermuth there. I think I would. I just don't know that Taysom has like big upside where his low floor doesn't merit it. Big hand, Bateman or Samuel. Yeah, PPR. I think we said just earlier, somebody else who asked that question. Samuel's your floor play. Very, very solid. If you got to go boom or bust and risk a low floor for a high ceiling, then Bateman's your guy. Best bet, Dylan, Mike Williams, or Dobbins. Dylan is your safest. He's the one that's got you a big floor. He's going to get probably 15, 18 carries. Good chance to score this week. Mike Williams is volatile. They don't give him some targets some weeks. Other weeks, if they're going to throw, he could have a big game, but they could run all over Houston this week. So I'm going to say, though, Dylan is far safer. But you know what? They might have equal upside. I'm going to go Dylan. Charlie, I'm just worried about Davis having a setback on his ankle. He had a setback Wednesday, and if he already did, he could have another one. So here's what I would say. Lockett is good for your floor. You want to save points. You want to bank them there. If you need 15 points out of your wide receiver, Lockett's not probably getting that. Davis could. But Davis could get you a 2, whereas Lockett's going to get you at least a 7 or an 8. Probably. So that's how you play it. You want the safe one, go at Lockett. If you're willing to risk a real low score for a potential blow up and he doesn't aggravate his ankle, that's Gabe Davis. Jay, you need a flex. You got Connor, Patterson, or Robinson. Yeah, it's a good problem to have, right? Patterson is a good matchup. Brown's been horrible against the run, and Patterson's playing at a high level. So is Robinson, but Robinson's yards per carry as they broke that big long run last week, which was great. Connor, the coach said he's going to get him more involved. It's not a bad matchup here, but we haven't seen it yet this year. And I think Patterson's playing well enough that you're like, right now, you probably got him above Connor. Could Connor have that 3 touchdown game? Yes. So Connor is the biggest upside of the entire group because he is James Conner. He's an excellent player, right? But Patterson, I think, is a safer play with reasonable upside. So I'd probably go with him. Scott Williams or CEH is like 40% snap share, Scott, and Williams should get 70 this week. Craig Reynolds will be involved, but I think Williams is a beautiful matchup, and I think that's where we were looking at that. Where Edwards-Helaire doesn't have a fantastic matchup, so I'm going to go with Jamal Williams like 60 to 40% here. I think. All right, let's see here. We got a DFS Weekly on Insta. We got Breece Hall or Herbert. Khalil Herbert. He's going to probably get 70% of the touches, if not a little bit more. Matchup against the Giants, great. Leonard Williams is out, and we're good. I'm going to close up Insta here. I got 2 questions left on YouTube and Twitter. Thanks for coming, everybody. All right, let's get out of here. All right, and now give me last couple questions here. All right, Khalil. You've got best upside and standard. Pick 2. Garrett Wilson, Aaron Jones, Hunt, Patterson, Samuel. You have a great weekend as well. The biggest upside is going to be Aaron Jones of upside, and then I think Patterson is real upside. His matchup is very, very good. Those are the 2 upside guys in the group. Garrett Wilson would be in there, but I don't know what Zach Wilson's going to do with him. 2 questions left. Alec. And I'll answer that in a minute, Scott. Thank you, Alec. Appreciate that, man. Do you mean anything? No. The predictions that you see, whatever site you're playing your league on, whatever their company rankings are, that is how you'll fare out. And there are a lot of companies where I don't put a lot of stock in their projections. I won't say who they are because everybody works hard and I give people credit, but some I just don't think there's the attention to detail in there. So so I think that don't worry about that. Yeah, you just take your best advice about players, make your best decisions, but don't count on what the sites say because that's just somebody's rankings. Jay, Cousins or Mariota? Cousins has more ceiling. He could go off, but he could have a low game here too because the Saints are a very good pass defense. I think they do have some edges here. I think Lattimore's not great against great technicians like Justin Jefferson. So there's real upside. Mariota, they're just really running digs downfield and the dig routes and they're on play action. They're heavy personnel. So Mariota has a really, really good floor this week with a moderate ceiling. Cousins has a lower floor and a higher ceiling. I would be more inclined for safety to start Mariota, but if I need a 23-point game or so, then I'm looking at Cousins. Scott, so I am not, because whenever's an NFL game on a Sunday morning, like the London games, I'm not going to compete with the NFL is what I say. So I'm going to do those weeks. There's 2 more coming up. I'm doing those on Saturdays. All right. And then I did say I was out after this. I see 2 questions. I'll get these and I got to run. I got a serious show at noon. Trey, afternoon to you too. Need some help. Full PPR. Olave, Hunt, Devonte Smith, or A-Rob, Russell. I would use Cousins over. Well, Russell, you know what? If you're gonna give Russell one more shot, this would be the one. They're playing the Raiders. They can beat the Raiders through the air. There's some things that are broken about their passing game right now. They might get fixed with chemistry. I think they're very comparable starts, Russell. I would be inclined to give Russell one more shot. I would. And then your other one, Olave I don't like because the left guard, Andres Pete's out, and Andy Dalton's not just going to chuck it up. So I'm a little bit concerned there. And Devonte Smith, you know what? There are weeks he's not going to get a lot, but we saw what he can do. So I think right now in his matchups, there's nothing scary about his matchup against Jacksonville, and their offensive line can handle their rush. So I'm going to say we're going to go with Devonte Smith. And then the next one will be this. I think Kareem Hunt is your floor play. I think you should use him. And I think we're just going to stop there because A-Rob has a bad matchup. I need to get out of here, guys, but I'll quickly buzz through these last couple. Tonyan or Njoku. I'm going to go Njoku because his target share has increased each week, and I think he's becoming a number 2 in that offense. Tonyan, it was good targets last week. I just don't know that holds up week to week right now. Trey, full PPR, start 2. Breece Hall, Robinson, Judy, Singletary, or Damien Harris. Damien Harris should be involved because you can run on Green Bay, and they're going to need both backs. And Singletary should be involved against the Ravens, but we never quite know what that means. Last week it was a receiver. I would probably right now I don't like A-Rob's matchup, and Judy's. It's like, you know what? Even though Judy doesn't always run the routes where Russell is looking, I'm going to go Judy and Damien Harris, and I really got to get out of here. I'm going to buzz through these last two. I got to go get ready for my show, guys. All right, full PPR for Colin, Kirk, Devonte Smith, Breece Hall. Kirk's in good shape because the slot corner for Avonte Maddox is out, so I like him. Devonte Smith, nothing scary about his matchup, so I'm going to go with those two and then call it a day on there. Let's see, Damien Pierce, Wilson, DJ Moore. If you're going to use DJ Moore any other week, it's this week. There's no pass rush they're going to face. The secondary is terrible. This would be the week to use DJ Moore, but Baker Mayfield's terrible. Otherwise, I would go with Bateman if I don't like DJ Moore. Conklin or Everett. Conklin is safer. Everett has a higher ceiling, so depending what you need. And my last question. I'm going to go with McKenzie. The middle of the field's going to be open this week. Olave is going to have the problem of left guard is out, and Andy Dalton, I don't think he's going to chuck the ball up the way that one Jameis Winston does. Thanks, everybody. Hope everybody has the best of luck in week 4, and we will talk soon.